next up is Scott Childers. He's the Emerging Technologies Librarian at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and his talk is a second look into the future.
And everything. I call this a second look into the future because at last year's CNU I did a first look. For the benefit of those of you who weren't there, I'll give you a 1-minute glimpse of what you missed, so you don't miss next year's. We talked about mobile technologies taking off. Check. E-books taking off. Check. Data is becoming very important in academic libraries. Not just the researchers are creating massive amounts of data, and we're trying to become curators and stewards of that data now, as well as their papers and books and stuff. What academic libraries are also going to be looking at are tools that can be used on that data, things like data visualization tools, text analysis tools, that type of thing. That's still ongoing. I see that continuing on. Gesture voice control, the Xbox Connect type stuff. We're going to see more experiments with that. I don't think we're going to see a computer lab with people researching like this. Although it might be kind of cool if you keep the energy up in the room. And also one last long-term kind of pie-in-the-sky thing we talked about last year is a single sign-on for the web. You see a lot of web sites now say, connect with Facebook. That is going to be your online identity. You're not going to have lots of accounts anywhere. Where are libraries going to go with that? Are they going to be part of Facebook Connect or a similar thing? I actually see public libraries, I predict, the great Creswell predicts, that there will be a public library somewhere out there that will try to do Facebook Connect to hook you to my library record, somewhere out there. And if they do, I want to see the results. Okay, so that was a recap of last year. Now for our other tech trends coming. And yes, you can disagree with me all you want, that's fine. That's why they're predictions and not guarantees. Let's talk a little bit about mobile. In the last quarter of 2010, over 100 million mobile units were sold. That same time period, 92 million PCs were sold. Mobile devices are outselling PCs now. So what does that mean for libraries? Those of us who maintain computer labs, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a decline for a little while as people are still buying PCs and laptops, especially the academics. They're still putting those in their dorms. But after, I'm guessing, about 5 years or so, they're not going to have big screens or even keyboards in their dorm rooms. They're going to have these things, or tablets. And so when they are assigned things like papers, hopefully they still assign papers in 5 years, they will be coming to computer labs to do that type of work. They'll come with probably the research that they've already done on their smartphones and PDFs emailed to their email account, because that's all they're going to use email for, is document storage, not communication. And that's what they'll be used for. They'll just be used for writing that paper. Or, in academia again, there are some professors who still insist on using outdated plugins in their courseware. That's where we'll come in too, because they can't get it on a cell phone or a tablet. They'll have to come in and use that software mandated by their professors. So yeah, I see decreased use of our PCs for the next 5 years. Then we'll see upswing specifically on that type of thing. That's mostly academics. Public, I don't know if we have any school librarians here, but publics, I imagine you're going to start seeing a different trend. You're going to see people using that mostly for jobs and stuff. I don't think your experience is going to change too much. There's another thing. A couple of years ago, how many of you remember when video gaming as teaching tool was a big thing? I know it was through some of you. It was kind of big in libraries. We're going to see a return of that buzz. But not just as video game as teaching tool, but video game as subject. We're starting to see people examine video games as an academic research area. For example, video games started in the 70s and 80s. Something else that started about that time, hip-hop. There are 300 courses in colleges and universities studying hip-hop as culture, as music, as that type of thing. There's a minor in Howard University in hip-hop studies now. I think we're going to see the same thing in video games. We're going to see video games explored as economic models, both in virtual worlds and simulations. We're going to see people comparing storylines of, say, Baldur's Gate versus the stories of King Arthur. We're going to see them looked at as literature, as film studies, types of things. So how's that affect our collection development? Are we collecting video games? Because that's the primary source of these type of things. If they're studying video games, we need the games for them to study, right? In Michigan, they have a video game archive where they have playable stations from Atari all the way up to the new ones and titles for all of those. Are we going to start putting in video game archives? Maybe. We'll have to see. Or it could turn into a niche study, like comic book studies. There's a few places that have really strong comic book archives and comic book areas. Old-time radio archives, there's some strong places. But that's something that we'll have to think about. Our professors are going to move to using video games like they moved to using graphic novels. And as our academics go that way, publics, you may have to you do a lot with video game activities. What are you going to do for those people who come in to study video games? Are you going to tell the teens in the game room, oh, you can't use that right now. We've got this community user who needs to study SimCity. I don't know if that'd go over well. Just a minor thing we're going to see as far as technology, in, both for public, academic, and all that. There's going to be a push for more green IT. There's been a push for green buildings already. We're going to see people push this green IT agenda. Now by green IT, that's two things. One, the materials used to build the computers are going to be more recyclable, maybe reclaimed materials, that type of thing. We're also going to be finding ways to do alternate ways of powering these things. Maybe even getting rid of boxes in our own place and going more towards cloud computing. Some public areas have gone to Apollo, which is completely cloud-based. We might see some more people looking for that type of thing, getting rid of the number of boxes in our area, or if you're on an academic campus, combining your servers with the entire campus IT so you're not paying multiple refrigeration costs, that type of thing. What does that mean for you as librarians? Well, when you start buying things, you're going to have to decide, well, does this fit the green IT model that Central or whoever else is pushing? Can I recycle these computers, or is it someone else's job? Or are they going to tell us you have to buy this model? So just the very IT we use might have, we might be told what to do, like we're not already. All right, and the last point I have, and this kind of touches on some of the last comments that Amy made, especially Gary Vaynerchuk's. I tried Gary V, as you know, because people can't pronounce Vaynerchuk. We are getting so much content thrown at us. It's hard to keep up. There are people who are pushing this idea of a hyper-personalized content stream. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jeff Jarvis. He's a professor of journalism at the City University of New York. He's one of the strongest proponents of this. We're going to start seeing some smart algorithms take a look at the public streams of data we put out, whether it's a Twitter stream, a public Facebook stream, if you have a blog, that type of thing, and even some of the private things like your search history, or your location data if you don't make that public already, Foursquare, and that type of thing. And using that to build the context of what is presented to you. This is how people will discover information. It won't be by searching, it will be delivered to them through an algorithmic smart computer. Well, smart in the way they define it. What are we going to do? How are we going to get our information into that stream? How are we going to help get good stuff in that stream? Are we going to help people who come into our library subscribe to that stream? Or are we going to say, that's a bunch of hooey, and do something else? That's just some tech trends. I know I monopolized the whole day. I had a list of 50 that I could have talked about, but there's some people who want to talk about something else, so thank you.